Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. Thank you for joining us in the celebration of the light of being. You know, the joy and happiness that comes from really seeing that we are only light, infinite, indivisible. Yeah, I've had many reminders from Jesus. And I'm so glad he comes and reminds, you know, if we ask him to, he'll remind us, because we're no longer choosing to forget. Reminding, stay as the light. That's it. Ta-da. And marinate. I love that. You know, I say it many times. It just resonated, I guess, here for me, you know, with Muji. Marinate as the light. And that will clear the forest of delusion, as Muji says. And because there is an idea we have to do something. And I did ask Jesus, I said, yeah, okay, so we marinate, we just in this vastness, as the vastness that we are, rather than following thoughts around, like jumping down a hole or rat after a rat, you know, following thoughts and trying to fix thoughts, other thoughts coming in, you know, and then a story comes and try to fix it with another story. And if only that story was different, we could just watch it now. We're getting really fascinated. How it constructs itself. And the first thing you know, you had like one seed thought and then you got a tree. But it's beautiful because we can see how pictures are generated from these thought forms in our investment of thought form. And that's it. Stay as the light. And that just washes out so much. So stay as the light, and then ask them which we're doing. I love those little pause moments, like we ring the bell twice a day. And it's a good reminder for us, of course. And he says it in the course, give this, you know, time every hour, however the structure of the course is. And for us, we ring a bell. And I just like, it's such a good reminder just to sit. And I just sit with Jesus and ask him, okay, is there anything I need to see here? And of course, he delivers it. And just continually happy, like the slightest, we talked about that, the slightest twinge, you know, because sometimes I've noticed like the body feels tired in the morning, or however, there's a feeling, right, that's not perfect peace. And I just ask him, show me, and he delivers it out. Boom, boom, boom. And you can see it's like that tension. Yeah, the deep, the intention. Tension is the intention to project something. At the end of these, we've just started coming together to talk about the titles. I don't know. And it's really fun. How that, yeah, it's just such a different experience to look at things as infinite light and be so fully with that it just melts away. And another thing, yes, you know, he's so good at reminding things. Like he said, like when you have, it seems to be something out there like pain or whatever, follow it back to the source, because it can only point to you, us, to divine, and follow it all the way back. Where's this coming from? What's this? You know, it's like investigate it. I could like through the desire to avoid love, like it was always pushed away. And then it was the next thought was, okay, there's something wrong. Or the next thought, how do I fix this? Or then, you know, like the proliferation. So that was a whole new tree that grew out over here. You know, here's the pain. And then there's a whole new problem tree that grows like that out of thought, right? And I can fix that with a thought. And he's so direct now. Stay as the light. See how the light sees it. Even a twinge. Find a twinge. Well, let's see. Like I feel a tension in my back. Like how does the light actually view that twinge? It's like such a qualitative difference. And then follow it. What's that pointing to? And just see that everything points back here. Such a good reminder. It's always pointing back to light. Everything's reflected in light, just like the sun. So even the slightest sound, even the sound we're really mad at, you know, really, I'm really ticked off because these nonstop birds next door. Actually, I haven't been upset. That's a change of mind. They just talk to one another all day long. These herons, there's some herons, black crowned night herons right out in this tree with their babies, and they talk nonstop. And I'm seeing, you know, those kinds of sounds where we're really irritated, those are good ones to follow back. What's the source of this sound? Let's just do an investigation. You know, and get really curious about things that we took so for granted, so sure about, so sure that that sound proves that that bird out there is separate. And then you ask the light, can that prove, even that sound, can that prove that that bird's separate? It's like, let's just see. We put it to the light test, the test of God. Let's just see how it lasts in the light. I love that with Jesus. Just see. You know, it outlasts the light that's here, whatever's arriving. Like, and we can all see it too, because we all know it. Can't tell, but somehow that's functioning in consciousness to really, out of all the diversity, it's gonna, you know, you can just feel it's just gonna find that one thing. It's going ching, 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 down to that. Out of all the magnificence and diversity, it's the bird right here, or whatever it is in consciousness. You know, everything except unified consciousness. Anything to make it seem like it's a little piece or a fragment, like Jesus said, a little, you know, a problem with a chunk of dirt or an ant or things. You can see how it's impossible to find the way out without Jesus. It's just not possible. Without, it can't happen. It cannot happen without ceasing the denials of divinity and following that divine light. I suppose there are reflections that appear in consciousness where it just went, hit her totally on the bench, bing. And it can't appear like that because we're powerful enough. But for some reason, it seems like most reflections, at least appearing here, and Jesus says it in the Course, it's kind of like this little gradual melting away of identity. I'm just asking, is that because they're lucky? He says you can leave that idea right now. Because the light's always here, you know. The light's not giving out special wake-up calls to any, you know, look, you're the one that's going to wake up before you over there. The light's like always available. What is like 24/7? We can see this. We know everything in this Course is true that Jesus tells us. Yet somehow he keeps saying it's really helpful to keep looking. So we'll just keep on going and have some fun with it. Why not? Why not? Jesus, does this have to be difficult? Listen, in the light of divine being? And then, you know, we know that answer to no. Only if you desire it to be. That's a good one. Let's look at that. See if there's any more. Jesus, is there any desire below my level of awareness I feel hard? Right. Just see what he says. Yes. Yes. I said no. He actually said, that's such a good one to look at. And just admit it. Okay, I want this to be difficult. I want to pound my head on the pavement some more. Okay, just have fun with that. Okay, so let's see. Jesus, is there anything else Oh, so much love. We can look at about making this whole thing difficult. Or that it takes work. Takes work to see that we're a divine being. He said it does take focus because of that habit of identification. Yet you can see that you're light right now. And we do in these light circles. We know we're light. Jesus, in the light of divine being, are we anything other than light? And hear the answer. And then you hear the word but. I'm the light, and then but. No, you may not hear it. May not arise. It's like Muji, and that toolkit is so good. That invitation to freedom toolkit, well worth, very powerful. And he says, okay, and you can see all the people who come in satsang so beautifully, satsang. And then they go, I can see I'm the light, but. That's where the ego starts filling in everything behind the but. The why not? I can't be a divine being because. And that's really what, in these light circles, Jesus is clearing out all the becauses. The why not? Why not be divine being right now? We see the light's here. And that's just really the power of A Course in Miracles. When he says it compresses time. Anything that we're really, hanging on to down there in terms of being a person, being an object in the world, that we've gotten the habit of thinking it feels good. Sometimes he has to show us that it doesn't. Well, consciousness will show it that it doesn't. But because it's extended out on a timeline, it seems, well, it's not so bad being a person, not so bad being separated from God, like that trick in consciousness. So I'm just going to ooch this out, the recognition and acceptance of divinity, like a little bit more, until we finally say, nope. It's not worth another day of samsara. Another day of suffering is not worth it. The play in the denial of divinity. As the light's just always here. So keep going on the beliefs, so look deeply. See, Jesus, is there anything else to look at around? He says, look at the desire for time for waking up, to fully accepting divinity. Is there any desire for time below the level of awareness? Begging God, I want just a little more time in the play. And then look again to see, does the light know what time is? The infinite light that we're celebrating every time we come together. Does the light that's here know time? Does it ask for more time? I can be awake with a little more work, a little more time, a little more effort. Does it ask for effort actually in our direct experience? Does it say, look, in order for you to wake up and see that you're the light, you have to do something? Is the light in any way requiring anything for us to do in our direct experience? That's why purpose is so helpful, to ask what things are for. What's the purpose of this thought? I love that Rupert Spear. I was thinking about that today, how he has that question. On whose behalf does this thought arise? Does it arise on behalf of the light that I am? Or to invest in the play and consciousness of not being whole and complete? As Jesus points to in our course, what's the purpose of this thought? You can question any thought. What's the purpose? Jesus just filled in. He goes, there's no purpose to thought. That seems to be my lesson lately, because he keeps repeating it. Because we're so used to thought. Dabbling in thought dabbling. You believe, let's see, Marianne. You believe it is possible to be superior to others. You desire an experience of feeling you're superior to others. Say, Jesus, if there's any energy around that, show it to me. He's saying it's the same as inferiority. There's no difference between those two. He's very humble. He's saying you like to play as an inferior god. An inferior version of God. He goes playing God when in the inferior version. He says it's much more valuable to go total and complete. Okay, come back. Sometimes you just have to laugh. All this. When you start really seeing the mechanisms, you know, the play in consciousness, like we talked about this before, you know, but it's just how life is for me, you know. You know, we can see in the light of divinity, the light that we're focusing on here. You know, there isn't an other. It just isn't in the light. We know it. And it's still, you know, I don't know, that wheel just keeps turning to try to convince ourselves that we're not the light. You know? No, but I'm not that, you know, all the buts and the if-thens and the wases and the becauses and the anything but the light. You know, put a big X. So, I mean, it doesn't feel so funny in the middle of it sometimes, but yeah, Jesus, remind me, let's not take this so seriously. You know? It's the decision not to laugh about it, actually. Remember, the Son of God remembered not to laugh. So it's decision not to laugh about the whole thing. It's desire to have memory over what isn't, over just laughing. That nothing's harmed. The light knows nothing's actually happening. So we'll come back to being superior. Let's see if there's anything energy left around that. Thus you desire an experience of feeling you're superior to others. Is there any desire to feel superior to others? Jesus says you have a desire to feel superior to God. So that's a good one to put on there too. Is there any desire to feel superior to God? Oh yeah, I really feel that wanting that. Let me see what let Jesus clear that one out. Let's see. I'm willing to put that over. Okay, Jesus, is there anything left, any remnants of wanting to feel superior to God? I love that. Go until he says no. They can't be found. Thus you desire of feeling your and or God and feeling pleasure in it. Is there any desire to feel pleasure in that, feeling superior? Yeah, he's showing me like the flip side of the coin. And feeling devastated if you feel like less than others. Like you notice it's like you never what is, you're either less or more, like a little fluctuation. One day I feel so good, I feel better than Joe over here. Next day, no, I don't feel as good as. It just like the swings. It's their desire to swing back and forth. And Jesus says, yep. It's a play in consciousness to avoid part of the avoidance of what is superior, inferior, cycling. Victim, victimizer, the same. You desire an experience where it feels as though others are superior to you and then feeling fearful and angry about it. The desire for the experience of feeling fearful and angry about feeling inferior. Is there any energy around that? Any investment? You believe what you do or say has an effect on others. This is such a deep one. We're so used to others and influence them and get them to do things. Is there any desire to have an experience of trying to get others to do things? That thought, like if I could just convince that just splits to duality like immediately. If I can just convince someone of something. With the corollary, getting things to go my way. You desire to miscreate an experience of feeling what you say or do has an effect on others. Oh, having liken a little power in that. Let me see if there any energy around liken a little power in that feeling of seemingly being able to influence somebody else. And see, does the light really try to influence anything in the light of divine being if we just put that energy trying to influence. Light just is. Does the light know what influence is? Does it try to affect anything? You desire to miscreate an experience of feeling what you say or do has an effect on others and thus feeling pleasure when they seem to respond to as you wish. Or pain when they do not seem to respond as you wish. That cause and effect in that relationship, in relationships. I think I talked about that last time. And last time, a couple of times ago, about the whole upset in a relationship that I was in, because he wasn't doing what I was wanting him to do. That was the way, the mechanism that love was being proved. That's the way the interpretation was. And there was this book called Love Language, which really was teaching how to be loving by listening to what your loved one needed and then giving them that. And I'm seeing that's a play. I mean, it can be a mode of opening to love. Yet it can also be used, but it's not the fast way. The fast way is seeing that there's no one to influence. See as the light sees. The contrast is always between infinite light that's here and then the idea that there's something more or less than infinite light, something to influence, something to change, something to be different. Boy, that cycle of getting someone to do something. That's so much in the unholy relationship bonds and not being responsible for the state of mind. Jesus says there is only one. Cause and effect are one. Divine being does not know an effect on another. You start to see how, that wanting is death. Wanting something from someone is death. Yet in the world, it seems so natural. Of course, I want my boyfriend, or why aren't you doing what I'm telling you to do? It's just death. You start thinking it's just death. We looked at this one. This is such a deep one too. You believe that what you do or say has an effect on you. That thoughts have an effect on you or your divine being. You desire to miscreate an experience that what you say or do has an effect on you. Is there any desire left, Jesus, around telling me yes? So I'm looking directly at that one, because I can see sometimes those little thought eddies. He says, any time at all spent in a thought. Oh, he's so direct. Any time at all spent in those thought eddies. He says, spend no time there. Bring it to the light immediately. Accept the correction immediately. It's a good reminder. Yeah, this is a good one to look at too. You believe the ego exists. You desire an experience of having an ego. Is there any desire left around that? He's saying you desire an experience of having something that does not exist feel more powerful than you are. You totally and completely disempower yourself for an experience of being disempowered. And in the light of divine being, it's helpful to look at that to see, is that really true? Is it really possible, even if we try as hard as we can, like really try really, really hard, can any disempowerment or any experience change the light of being? He's saying you want to feel prey to your own delusion. Is there any energy around that in the play? No. To be vanquished, have an experience of being vanquished by your own delusion. That's pretty deep. That's why it gets to be funny. Oh, and then he says, and then you can claim that God's doing it to you. Okay. You believe that fear is real. You desire to miscreate an experience of fear and pain as real. That's a good one, really, to look at the wanting. Like, just be with pain until you just can go all the way down till you feel the wanting of it. How it's wanted, like it's an itch that we really, really want, but it seems to be like out there, something that we're like pushing away. To catch the trick, it like catches that trick. And it's like be with it all. That wanting blooms in the mind of it. It's like, oh, okay. And see that you have the power as a divine being to go, no, thank you. No. Pain is merely an expression of the denial of divinity. Is there any desire in the subconscious mind that I can look at around the desire to experience pain as a denial of divinity? Is there any pain seemingly in this body that I can look at directly with you? Oh my gosh, so much love comes up on that. Whenever we ask, it's just so much love. He says you can just place this so ever so gently in the light of divine being. Again, he's saying, see how long it lasts. And any pain that's here outlasts the power of the light that's here that we share. One little twinge. Let's put that twinge in the light, see how it lasts. Thank you so much for coming together with us in this and bringing the light here. It's just so extraordinary, this gift from Jesus. To be together in this, to look so deeply at what's true. In the real power of the light of infinite being that we are, and how valuable and precious it is to talk to him every day and hear him in our brother and see him shine in our brother. What a gift. Sending you love, everyone, love for San Juan Coastal of Mexico. Amen.
Amen.